Previously on Midnight Musings.
On the 23rd of April 1993, Athulathmudali was scheduled to address meetings in Borella, Halsdorf and Kirulapana. He finished addressing two other meetings and arrived in Kirulapana around 8 p.m. Suddenly, an assassin came near Athulathmudali, pulled out a gun and shot him 3 times. At this moment, a bodyguard of Athulathmudali named Tilak Shanta fired at the assassin and hit him on the right side of his abdomen. The assassin also shot at the bodyguard and ran away. Athulathmudali was taken to the hospital but succumbed to his wounds around 8:50 p.m. on that day. What do we now know about the Athulathmudali assassination? There were 2 investigations carried out by the Sri Lanka police as well as the Scotland Yard. Both of them separately concluded that the assassination was carried out by a Tamil youth named Appaya Balakrishnan or Raghunathan, who was affiliated to the LTTE. However, these findings were widely disputed by the people due to the political context of that time, and in 1995, President Chandrika Bandaranayake Kumaratunga appointed a presidential commission to probe the Athulathmudali assassination, which was an election promise that she made for the 1994 presidential election campaign. The final commission report was submitted to the president on the 7th of October 1997, and that pointed the finger at former president Ranasinghe Premadasa and security force personnel who were close to him as directly being responsible for killing Athulathmudali. Subsequently, a few security force members and underworld figures were arrested. They were charged with conspiracy and aiding and abetting to commit murder. 3 of the accused were killed during prosecution, and that raised further questions about this assassination. The Lalit Athulathmudali case remains one of the most controversial political assassinations in recent Sri Lankan history. Now, this commission was due to submit a report in 3 months, but it took more than 2 years to complete the investigation. The commission found that the firearm wound on Raghunathan was caused by a shot fired at a very close range with a doctored and tampered 9mm cartridge. For this to have happened, he should have been in someone's captivity when he was shot. This is because the bodyguard had shot the killer at a distance greater than that. Raghunathan had his wound on his lower back, not on the right side of the abdomen. The commission also concluded that evidence gathered suggests that cyanide was administered to him forcibly, not that he bit the cyanide capsule himself. It also ruled out LTTE from the assassination plot. Commission also pointed out that Raghunathan was killed by the gang which had killed Athulathmudali. There were several people implicated by the commission in this entire operation. Arambawalage Don Ranjit Upali de Silva was more famous by the name Sotti Upali. He was implicated for murdering victim number 2, Appaya Balakrishnan or Raghunathan. Sotti Upali was assumed to be the godfather of the Colombo underworld during that time. He had been said to have close political links, most importantly to United National Party stalwarts. Upali served as a reserve sub-inspector at one time. He was later included in the UNP executive body by President Premadasa. Ussatta Liyanage Senaviratne, a provincial councillor of the United National Party for the Western Province, was also implicated in this commission report. He was accused of the offences of unlawful assault, voluntarily causing hurt while being armed with deadly weapons, and wrongful restraint as well as criminal intimidation with regard to an incident linked to the Fort Railway Station on the 7th of August 1992, as well as the conspiracy to kill Lalit Athulathmudali on the 23rd of April 1993. Janaka Priyanka Jayamanna, alias Sudu Mahathya, was identified as the assassin of Lalit Athulathmudali. Watudula Bandulage Somaratna or Konda Some another prominent underworld figure was implicated by the commission. K. Nandasiri Karunatilaka or Nandana, a mobster and a close associate of Sotthiupali, was implicated by the commission. Pulat Sinhalage Sirisena Kure, the Minister of Housing and Construction of the Premadasa government, and he was considered the right-hand man of President Ranasinghe Premadasa, was also another person implicated in the Presidential Commission report. Bulat Sinhalage Ajit Kure, the son of Sirisena Kure, was also implicated by this Presidential Commission report. The Commission report added that the police had contributed to the assassination by failing to give adequate security to the meeting, disregarding vital evidence, not submitting a complete report to the magistrate, and avoiding questioning witnesses on relevant matters. The report implicated ASP Lugoda, IP Dharmawardana, SI Sunil Shanta, and IP Ekanayaka for falsifying and tampering evidence and fraudulent conduct. Senviratna Gunaratna, Dharmawardana Basil, Jayasingha Devasundara, Abdeen, Nilabdeen, Deepthi Vijayavikrama and other CDB officers were accused of conducting an unsatisfactory probe on Raghunathan's death. The Presidential Commission report also shows that the police were aware of where Raghunathan was being held captive before he was murdered. The report in its last paragraphs pointed the finger towards President Premadasa for the assassination of Lalit Athulathmudali. Based on the Commission report, on the 8th of September 1998, Devasundara, the Inspector of Police in charge of the local unit of the Terrorism Investigation Division, was arrested in Anuradhapura. Sotthiupali, Malwatha Some, UL Senviratna and BG Devasundara and A. Abdeen were arrested and charged with conspiracy and aiding and abetting to commit murder and unlawful detention of Raghunathan. Sirisena Kure was arrested later and released. He continues to deny their involvement of the assassination up to date. 3 suspects, Aramba Valage Don Ranjit Upali or Sotthiupali, Janaka Priyanka Jayamanna or Vellampitiya Sudu Mahathya and K. Nandasiri Karunatilaka or Nandana, all 3 of whom were underworld figures, were later assassinated. Sotthiupali was shot on the 17th of December 1998 while returning home from the magistrate's court in Colombo, where he had been charged in connection with the assassination. It was reported that 2 vehicles followed the bus in which Upali was travelling from Colombo to Piliyandala. As soon as he got down in Bokundara, he was shot and then dragged into one of the vehicles and taken to a place about 4 kilometers from Bokundara, shot again and dropped. Prior to that, in February 1998 at Boralla, Nandana was killed at the presence of Upali, but he had luckily escaped. A rival underworld gang led by Dhammika Amarasinghe, the brother of Upali's arch-rival Chintaka Amarasinghe, who was killed by Upali a few years later, was said to be responsible for these assassinations. When those who were implicated by the Presidential Commission were tried in court, it was revealed that the assassin named by the Commission, Vellampitiya Sudu Mahathya, had no wounds on the right side of his abdomen, as earlier revealed by Lalit Athulathmudali's bodyguard Tilak Shanta. Thus, Shanta was recalled to the court to question him on the issue. There he confessed that he had deliberately lied to the Commission. He said the truth was that he shot at the assassin, but the bullet never hit the assassin. Later, Shanta was charged as an accomplice to the murder. The assassin of Lalit Athulathmudali, as implicated by the Commission, Janaka Priyanka Jayamanna or Vellampitiya Sudu Mahathya, was assassinated by rival underworld gangs at his Kolonnava home on the 30th of April in the year 2000. His wife also died in this shooting. Chandrika Kumaratunga's government was accused of giving asylum to the gangs led by Dhammika Amarasinghe, who was responsible for these murders. In 2005, a suspect was apprehended by police in relation to Sotthiupali's murder. Interrogations revealed that he had been a bodyguard of former Samurdhi Minister S.B. Disanayaka, who had been in the Chandrika government. We're talking about an incident that happened almost 30 years ago. But if such evidence was available and if there were evidence to prove that there were false statements being made. There were people very prominently connected to political parties. A realistic person, a rational person would think to consider or question rather what actually happened to Lalita Athulathmudali. There are two versions of this story. The official version, of course, is that the assassination was carried out by the LTTE, and the unofficial conspiracy is that there was a heavy UNP involvement in this entire operation. However, what remains clear is that there are people involved in this operation who had provided false information to the initial investigators who first linked this to the LTTE. When there were continuous probings done, then it was clear that they had provided these false evidences, and even the criminal investigations division had come under the scrutiny of this particular commission that was appointed by President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga to actually investigate into this incident. Again, there are two questions that arise as a result of this entire operation. Lalita Athulathmudali was a prominent political figure in the country who was coming up from a separate party other than the main political party that he was affiliated to beforehand, that was the United National Party. He created a new political party because there was clearly a political falling out between him and the president at the time, Ranasinghe Premadasa, and several other stalwarts of the United National Party who are up to date, very well and alive. Now, after this incident, if Lalita Athulathmudali continued in that path, there could have been a situation where he was going to turn the political wave of Sri Lanka in his favor, because he had a lot of following at the time. So was this an act carried out to silence him, and was there no involvement of the LTTE? So this brings us to this vital question: who actually killed Lalita Athulathmudali?
Listen to Midnight Musings every weekend on this Twitter space.